All the items that I'm comparing in this video, I actually purchased myself, so there's no bias in my reviews. It's just pretty much deciding for myself. You know, you have the Osmo Pocket, which is 7-second startup, super light, carry everywhere, versus, in my case, the a6300 with the 10 to 20 or 10 to 18 millimeter lens on the Moza Aircross gimbal. Now, the Aircross gimbal with the a6300 lens is about 3.3 pounds, where the Osmo Pocket is 0.26 pounds. So it's a huge difference, and size-wise, it is so small. So we'll actually go through now all the different specs, comparing the two, and then look at both setup time for balancing, which the Osmo is pretty fast, and then the a6300, going through, seeing how long it takes to balance that on a gimbal, and then I'll do a side-by-side comparison video for you guys to kind of see the difference in quality. It's not a super scientific test, it's just me holding the Osmo Pocket in one hand and the gimbal on with the a6300 in the other hand. Based on the comparison chart that I put together here, and it's really the first two columns, you can see the weight of the Osmo Pocket is about 1/12 of the a6300 with the 10-18 millimeter Sony lens and the Moza Aircross gimbal. I gave you the ounces too, if that's a help. Size-wise, I had to break out each thing individually for the mirrorless camera because they're all different sizes. There was really no way for me to measure the Moza Aircross, so I just kind of don't have anything for that, but you can kind of see the a6300 and the 10 to 18 lens, how big those are. Cost-wise, you can see that the Osmo Pocket is $349, but then the combination with the a6300 and the lens and the gimbal is just under $2,000. Osmo Pocket does 60 frames per second at 4K. The Sony does 30. You can see where the Sony does 120 frames per second at 1080p, where the Osmo Pocket only does 60. They both have the same bit rate. Now, where the Sony really shines is with the sensor size. The Sony sensor is considerably larger and double the megapixels. The other advantage of the Moza Aircross is that it can actually pan 360, roll axis 360, and then the tilt axes have a more degree of movement in them. Then going back to the Osmo Pocket, the setup time is 6 to 7 seconds, and the full gimbal on the Moza Aircross is on a regular time, it's between 45 and 60 seconds for me to balance it. But it's a lot harder outside to balance because you always have to make sure you find an area where you can actually stop and do it and put the small tripod legs on to actually get it balanced correctly. Now I'm going to do a quick test on how fast it is to get the Osmo Pocket ready to go. So that was 8 seconds. That includes me getting it out of the case as well as, hitting the iPhone thing. So it's probably about 7 seconds, maybe 6. For comparison, now I'm going to see how long it takes to mount the a6300 with the lens and the mic onto the Aircross gimbal. Now, one thing you do have to keep in mind is if you want your screen, now if it flips out, this one doesn't on the a6300, but if you actually do want it to use it this way, you have to balance it with it this way. So you have to kind of make sure you know how you're going to use the camera before you balance it, because it will be a different balance this way than versus with the actual screen tilted out. So now let's see how long it takes to actually mount the camera on. So that took about 47 seconds, and the Osmo Pocket took about 6 to 7 seconds, so it's a considerable amount of difference. Like I said, you know, this probably gives you a little bit better quality and more options with lenses and low light, but the Osmo Pocket's great because you can just turn it on and be ready to go. I'm testing the a6300 with the 1018 Sony lens on the Moza Aircross versus the DJI OSMO Pocket. Just to do a quick comparison, I don't have the Osmo Pocket's in my hand. I don't have it mounted. I tried to do it on the attaching it to the gimbal arm, but I don't have any way to really mount it well where it doesn't bounce around. Plus it was picking up a lot of vibration from the gimbal, just a very minute amount of you know, just motor sounds, of like micro sounds. So this is just a quick, we had a lot of snow in the last week, so, and then we had a deep freeze, so this is the first time I could get out. So this is just handheld. On the left side is the a6300 with the 1018 stabilized lens at 18 millimeters. Both are shot at 4K, 30 frames per second. They both have a small ND8 filter on, just because it's really sunny. I tried to make it as close as I could, so we'll see how that comes out. I am using the newest firmware from DJI as of February 1st, 2019. So it has the Pro modes built in. I do not have my iPhone connected to it, so this is strictly right hand, the Osmo Pocket, with nothing else on there. Like I said, the video is not going to match up perfectly, but it's more to show what it's capable of doing. You know, between the two, you know, how much vibration is there in the hands, how much quality is lost, if any, by using the Pocket. Because the Sony a6300 with the 1018 and the Moza Aircross, I believe is about just over 4 pounds, where the Osmo Pocket is 1/4 pound. So from a convenience standpoint, the Osmo Pocket really comes through. Now the gimbal moves are a little bit probably smoother on the Moza Aircross, but I have both of them set to follow, and on the Osmo Pocket I have it slow, so we'll see. The Osmo Pocket, I believe, is between 22 or 26 millimeters. I can't get that confirmed what the lens is, so I have the 10 to 18 at 18 millimeters. So hopefully this gives you a general idea. It's not a perfect test, I realize that. It's just more along the lines of quality, shot at the same exact time. So based on what you saw, what do you think? Did you like the Sony better? Is it worth carrying around the weight of the gimbal and the extra lens and the camera? Or do you think the DJI does just as good of a job, or good enough of a job, that you'd consider just carrying that around for most things? Now, one thing I did notice is with the latest firmware, it seems that the actual stabilization works really much better with the DJI OSMO Pocket. I have not had any confirmation on that, but it does seem like even when you walk, you don't even have to do as much of the ninja walk. I do think that the firmware might have made the walking stabilization a little bit better, because it doesn't bounce like it with the micro jitters anymore like it used to. I've not seen anything confirming that in the firmware documentation, but we'll have to wait and see. And if you liked the video, click the like button, and if you want to see more videos in the future, click the subscribe button.